Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I'm Anuja Kumar and with me is Renu Kataria with the Midday News. The headlines. Polling underway for 6th phase of assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh. Campaigning ends this evening for second and final phase of assembly polls in Manipur. Election Commission orders re-poll in 12 polling booths in Manipur on 5th of March. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to attend Quad leaders' virtual meeting today, along with USA President Joe Biden, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, and Prime Minister of Japan Fumio Kishida. 19 evacuation flights of Indian Air Force and Indian carriers to bring back over 3,000 stranded Indians from Ukraine today. Russia and Ukraine to hold second round of talks in Belarus today. United Nations says 1 million people have left Ukraine after Russia's special military operation. Over 178 crore COVID vaccine doses administered in the country so far. Recovery rate improves to 98.62%. In cricket, first test match between India and Sri Lanka to begin in Mohali tomorrow, and 12th ICC Women's Cricket World Cup to begin in New Zealand from tomorrow. With the new Omicron variant of coronavirus causing concern, we appeal to our listeners to be vigilant and get fully vaccinated and also help others, including children between 15 and 18 years, to get vaccinated. Please continue to follow these 3 simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. In Uttar Pradesh, an average voter turnout of 36.33% was registered till 1 p.m. in the 6th phase of assembly elections. Polling is progressing smoothly and will be conducted till 6 p.m. in the 57 assembly constituencies spread over 10 districts. The state is witnessing 7-phase elections. We now take you live to our correspondent for more updates. Aditya, how is the polling progressing?
Election Commission and District Administration have made elaborate arrangements on the polling booths. Decoration with flowers, rangoli and balloons are adding more color to this celebration of democracy. Security arrangements have also been made at all polling booths. Police and Central Armed Police Forces are stationed at every polling booth. Sector magistrates are frequently patrolling their designated areas. All arrangements are at place in the polling booths to help voters. Here in Gorakhpur, Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath cast his vote in a polling booth at Gorakhnath around 7:30 in the morning. Minister for Agriculture Surya Pratap Shahi also went to cast his vote along with his family in Pathardeva Assembly constituency in Devariya. Minister of State Jai Prakash Nishad also used his franchise. In Kushinagar, Samajwadi Party leader Swami Prasad Maurya and Congress State President Ajay Kumar Lallu also voted. Yes, Anuja.
Aditya, this phase is also a test of a strength of the alliance partners of BJP and SP. Tell us something more about this.
Yes, absolutely. This is also a test of the alliance partners of BJP and Samajwadi Party as well. Nishad Party, which is an alliance partner of BJP, has its voter base in Gorakhpur and adjoining areas. BJP's performance here will depend on how the Nishad Party performs here. Also, Suheldev Bharatiya Samaj Party comes in contest here, as it has also its influence in some of the seats. So this phase is also considered important for alliance partners of BJP and SP. Also, if we talk about Bahujan Samaj Party and Congress, so they are going solo in this election. Yes, Anuja.
Thank you, Aditya, for the updates. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that the Festival of Democracy in Uttar Pradesh has entered its 6th phase today. In a tweet, Mr. Modi has urged all the voters to participate in this festival and cast their votes. He said, "Your votes are the power of democracy." Prime Minister Narendra Modi will participate in Quad leaders' virtual meeting today. He will attend the meeting along with USA President Joe Biden, Prime Minister of Australia Scott Morrison and Prime Minister of Japan Fumio Kishida. The leaders will have an opportunity to continue their dialogue after the September 2021 summit in Washington, D.C. They will also exchange views and assessments about important developments in the Indo-Pacific. The Quad leaders will also review the ongoing efforts to implement the leaders' initiatives announced as part of the Quad's contemporary and positive agenda.
As many as 19 evacuation flights of Indian Air Force and Indian carriers will operate today from the neighbouring countries of Ukraine to bring back stranded Indians. These flights will bring back 3,726 Indian nationals. In a series of tweets, Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia said 8 IAF, Air India and Indigo flights are scheduled from Bucharest, while 5 from Budapest under the Operation Ganga. He said 3 flights will run from Rzeszów, Suceava and 1 from Košice today. 4 Indian Air Force C-17 aircrafts carrying Indians stranded in Ukraine being operated under Operation Ganga have arrived at Hindon Air Base near Delhi. The first Indian Air Force evacuation flight carrying 200 Indians from Romanian capital Bucharest arrived at the Hindon Air Base near New Delhi in the early hours today. Another Indian Air Force C-17 aircraft carrying 210 Indian passengers on board from Budapest in Hungary landed at Hindon Air Base. The third IAF flight carrying 208 Indian nationals reached from Poland, and the fourth aircraft with 180 Indian nationals arrived from Bucharest. About the evacuation and safety of Indian students, India's permanent representative to the UN, Ambassador T.S. Tirumurthy, said,
"There is an urgent and pressing humanitarian situation developing in Ukraine. Keeping in view the humanitarian requirements, my government has also decided to provide urgent relief supplies, including medicines. India is doing whatever it can to undertake immediate and urgent evacuation efforts of Indian nationals who are still stranded in Ukraine. The safety and security of Indian nationals, including a large number of students, remains our top priority. In this regard, I would like to thank all neighboring countries of Ukraine who have opened their borders for our citizens and given all facilities to evacuate Indian nationals to their homeland."
Indian students who were evacuated from Ukraine have thanked the Indian government.
I am feeling very happy and proud on my government. They had evacuated from such a critical case.
Thanks to the Indian government and who helped us evacuate from there.
After border, they literally provide very good facilities and hospitality. We are so glad that we got shelter and very good facilities, and we came here safely. I am so thankful for the Indian government.
External Affairs Ministry has said that it has not received any reports of any hostage situation regarding any student in Ukraine. In response to media queries regarding reports of Indian students being held hostage in Ukraine, MEA spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said that Indian Embassy in Ukraine is in continuous touch with Indian nationals in Ukraine, and with the cooperation of the Ukrainian authorities, many students have left Kharkiv yesterday. He added that India has requested support of the Ukrainian authorities in arranging special trains for taking out students from Kharkiv and neighbouring areas to the western part of the country. The round-the-clock control centres have been set up to assist in the evacuation of Indian nationals through the border crossing points with Hungary, Poland, Romania and Slovak Republic. Information about helpline numbers are available on our website newsonair.gov.in. A dedicated Twitter handle in the name of Operation Ganga Helpline has also been set up to assist in the evacuation of Indians from Ukraine. People can also email at situationroom@mea.gov.in. United Nations today said 1 million people have fled Ukraine after Russia's special military operation. The world body said that the number of people fleeing Ukraine has topped 1 million today after Russian forces kept up the bombardment in the second biggest city, Kharkiv, and laid siege on the 2 strategic seaports. The tally from the UN Refugee Agency released to news agencies amount to more than 2% of Ukraine's population being forced out of the country in less than a week. UN Refugee Agency spokesperson Shabia Mantu said that at this rate the exodus from Ukraine could make it the source of the biggest refugee crisis this century.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi today said the world is looking at India as a manufacturing powerhouse and there are infinite possibilities with Make in India. He also said Make in India is India's need as well as gives the country the opportunity to show the world its capability. Addressing a webinar on Make in India for the world tomorrow, he emphasized to work to build a robust manufacturing base in the country in sync with all stakeholders.
आज दुनिया भारत को मैन्युफैक्चरिंग पावर हाउस के रूप में देख रही है। हमारा मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर हमारी जीडीपी का 15% है, लेकिन मेक इन इंडिया के सामने इन्फिनिट पॉसिबिलिटीज हैं। हमें भारत में एक रोबस्ट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग बेस बिल्ड करने के लिए पूरी ताकत से काम करना चाहिए, चाहे केंद्र सरकार हो, राज्य सरकार हो, स्थानीय स्वराज की संस्थाओं के नियम हो, प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप हो, कॉर्पोरेट हाउस हो, हम सब देश के लिए मिलकर के कैसे काम करें। देश में आज जिसकी आवश्यकता बढ़ रही है उसमें हमें मेक इन इंडिया को बढ़ावा देना है।
Prime Minister said India's manufacturing journey has become smoother after the government lifted several compliances. He said the world witnessed how the supply chain has been destroyed across the world during the pandemic and this has shaken the global economy. He added this makes Make in India far more relevant and important.
इस बजट में आत्मनिर्भर भारत और मेक इन इंडिया को लेकर जो निर्णय लिए गए हैं वो हमारी इंडस्ट्री और इकोनॉमी दोनों के लिए काफी महत्वपूर्ण है। मेक इन इंडिया अभियान आज 21वीं सदी के भारत की आवश्यकता भी है और ये हमें दुनिया में अपने सामर्थ्य दिखाने का भी अवसर देता है।
Mr. Modi said Indian products should have zero defect in a competitive world as quality matters. He said the world is environment conscious and thus Indian products should have also zero effect on the environment. Emphasizing the need to give focus on Made in India and need to manufacture sustainable and qualitative products, Mr. Modi said the country needs to become self-reliant in production of semiconductors.
The government has approved over 1,682 crore rupees of additional central assistance under the National Disaster Response Fund to 5 states and 1 union territory. The high-level committee under the chairmanship of Home Minister Amit Shah cleared over 351 crore rupees to Andhra Pradesh, over 112 crore to Himachal Pradesh and over 492 crores to Karnataka. More than 355 crore rupees have been granted to Maharashtra, around 353 crore to Tamil Nadu and around 18 crore rupees to Puducherry. This additional assistance is over and above the funds released by the centre to the states in the State Disaster Response Fund already placed at the disposal of the states. During the financial year 2021-22, the central government has released over 17,747 crore rupees to 28 states and around 4,646 crore rupees to 8 states from NDRF. More than 178 crore COVID vaccine doses have been administered in the country so far under nationwide vaccination drive. Health Ministry said more than 21,83,000 doses were administered in the last 24 hours. The ministry said a total of 6,561 new cases were reported in the last 24 hours. The recovery rate is currently at 98.62%.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Polling underway for 6th phase of assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh. Campaigning ends this evening for second and final phase of assembly polls in Manipur. Election Commission orders re-poll in 12 polling booths in Manipur on 5th of March. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to attend Quad leaders' virtual meeting today along with USA President Joe Biden, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison and Prime Minister of Japan Fumio Kishida. 19 evacuation flights of Indian Air Force and Indian carriers to bring back over 3,000 stranded Indians from Ukraine today. Russia and Ukraine to hold second round of talks in Belarus today. United Nations says 1 million people have left Ukraine after Russia's special military operation. Over 178 crore COVID vaccine doses administered in the country so far. Recovery rate improves to 98.62%. In cricket, first test match between India and Sri Lanka to begin in Mohali tomorrow, and 12th ICC Women's Cricket World Cup to begin in New Zealand from tomorrow. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो खुद से वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
Welcome back to the Midday News on All India Radio. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address a webinar on energy for sustainable growth tomorrow in order to facilitate efficient and speedy implementation of Union Budget 2022 announcements. The Government of India is holding a series of webinars across various key sectors. As part of this series, the Sectoral Group on Resources, comprising of Ministries of Power, Petroleum and Natural Gas, New and Renewable Energy, Coal, Mines, External Affairs and Environment, Forest and Climate Change, is organizing a webinar on energy for sustainable growth at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Its objective is to discuss the initiatives of the Government of India in the energy and resources sector, which have been announced in Budget 2022, and to elicit ideas and suggestions for effective implementation of these initiatives. The Election Commission has ordered re-poll in 12 polling stations of 5 constituencies in Manipur, where polling was held on the 28th of February. The 12 polling stations where re-poll will be held belong to 5 assembly constituencies: Khudrakapam, Thanlon, Saitu, Henglep and Singhat. The re-poll will be held on 5th of March from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. The proposal for re-poll in these polling stations was recommended based on the facts and information received and reported from the respective returning officers. One of the main reasons for consideration of re-polling was connected to damage of EVMs by miscreants during and after the poll. Campaigning for the second phase of assembly elections in Manipur will end this evening. 22 seats spread over 10 districts will go to polls in this phase on Saturday. A total of 92 candidates, including 2 women, are in the fray for this phase. Star campaigners and prominent leaders of various political parties are engaged in public rallies and door-to-door canvassing in the state. We have a report.
With few hours left for political campaigns for second phase, political party and candidates are busy with election rallies and door-to-door campaigns. Chief Minister N. Biren Singh is leading the campaign of BJP candidates, while leaders of other parties are also busy with electioneering. The 10 districts in which polling will be conducted on Saturday are spread across the state, and some are border districts. Among the districts, Jiribam, Hobal and Kaksing are valley districts, while remaining 7 are hill districts. Polling will be conducted at 1,247 polling stations, and polling officials detailed for far-flung area will start their journey today. JJ Thoksom, AIR News, Manipur.
The 7th phase of polling in Uttar Pradesh will be conducted on Monday in 54 assembly constituencies from 9 districts. A total of 613 candidates are in fray for 54 assembly seats. In addition, the assembly by-election for the Majuli seat in Assam will also be held simultaneously, where there is a triangular contest on cards. The by-poll was necessitated following the resignation of Union Minister Sarbanand Sonowal from this seat after being elected to the Rajya Sabha.
And now let's listen to our special program Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav.
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News, Birth of a Nation.
India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
In today's episode, we remember nationalist, industrialist Jamshedji Nasarwanji Tata, who was born on the 3rd of March 1839 in Navsari, Gujarat. He was a patriot and a humanist whose ideals and vision shaped the exceptional business conglomerate of Tata.
The Swadeshi movement did not start until 1905. However, Tata represented these same principles throughout the time he was alive. Jamshedji was convinced that Indian companies could compete against the prevailing British dominance of the textile industry. In 1869, he acquired a dilapidated and bankrupt oil mill in Chinchpokli, Bombay, and converted it into a cotton mill.
Jamshedji went on an extended visit to England and conducted an exhaustive study of the Lancashire cotton trade. On the 1st of January 1877, the day Queen Victoria was proclaimed Empress of India, the Empress Mills came into existence in Nagpur. At the age of 37, Jamshedji had embarked on building many textile mills and other projects.
From about 1880 to his death in 1904, Jamshedji was consumed by what has to be the three great ideas of his life: setting up an iron and steel company, generating hydroelectric power, and creating a world-class educational institution that would tutor Indians in the sciences. The Taj Mahal Hotel in Bombay was one of the ventures that did bear fruit while Jamshedji was alive.
Legend has it that Jamshedji set his mind on building it after being denied entry into one of the city's hotels for being an Indian. Indeed, it can be said that Jamshedji Tata employed the wealth he created to enrich India and her people. We salute the great patriot.
We also remember freedom fighter and one of the greatest Urdu poets, Raghupati Sahai, better known by his pen name Firaq Gorakhpuri, who died on the 3rd of March 1982. He left his position of deputy collector to follow the independence struggle under the influence of Mahatma Gandhi.
Firaq Gorakhpuri was born on the 28th of August 1896 in Gorakhpur, Uttar Pradesh. He showed signs of excellence in Urdu poetry from an early age, and despite his contemporaries, including famous Urdu poets like Allama Iqbal, Faiz Ahmad Faiz, Kaifi Azmi and Sahir Ludhianvi, he was able to make his mark in the field.
He was selected for the Provincial Civil Service and the Indian Civil Service, but on hearing Mahatma Gandhi from the ground of Bale Mian on February the 8th, 1921, he left his government job and jumped into the freedom movement. He joined the non-cooperation movement and was jailed for 18 months. He wrote couplets of revolutions such as
Dekh raftare inqalab firaq, kitni ahista aur kitni tez, meaning, behold the pace of revolution firaq, how gradual yet how fast.
After independence, Gorakhpuri joined Allahabad University. During this time, he wrote many poems, including Gul-e-Naghma, that earned him the Gyanpith Award and the 1960 Sahitya Akademi Award in Urdu. In 1968, he received both the Padma Bhushan and the Soviet Land Nehru Award.
He also worked as a research professor at the University Grants Commission and as a producer emeritus at All India Radio. He wrote more than a dozen volumes of Urdu poetry, half a dozen of Urdu prose, several volumes on literary themes in Hindi, as well as 4 volumes of English prose on literary and cultural subjects. We salute the great Indian.
We also remember freedom fighter Sitaram Dubey of Shahabad, Bihar, who actively participated in the non-cooperation movement of 1920, the civil disobedience movement of 1930, and the Quit India movement of 1942. He died in the Patna camp jail on the 3rd of March 1943. We salute the great son of the soil. That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव के पावन अवसर पर आकाशवाणी समाचार के कार्यक्रम परिक्रमा में बृहस्पतिवार को शाम 4:45 पर सुनिए देश की आजादी में अपना अमूल्य योगदान देने वाले भारतीय स्वतंत्रता संग्राम के सेनानियों की वीर गाथा।
The second round of talks between Russia and Ukraine is set to take place today. A Ukrainian presidential aide told CNN that the second round of talks between the two countries will take place today. Russian state news agency RIA said the second round of talks will take place in Belarus near the Belarus-Poland border. Today is the World Wildlife Day. The day is observed to celebrate and raise awareness of the world's wild animals and plants. On 20th of December 2013, the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed 3rd of March the day of signature of the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora in 1973 as the World Wildlife Day.
The 12th ICC Women's Cricket World Cup is all set to begin from tomorrow in New Zealand. 8 countries will battle it out in 31 matches over 31 days at 6 cities of the island nation. The opening match will be played between the host New Zealand and the West Indies at the Bay Oval in Tauranga. In cricket, the first test of the 2-match series between India and Sri Lanka will begin tomorrow in Mohali. The first test will mark the beginning of newly appointed full-time skipper Rohit Sharma's journey as the leader of the test side. Virat Kohli, on the other hand, will represent India in the cricketing whites for the 100th time. The home side has a few records to extend as it enters the test series. So far, India have played against Sri Lanka 20 times at home, with the former emerging victorious on 11 occasions, while the remaining 9 ended in draws. Sri Lanka yet to defeat India in Test in India, a run which Rohit will look to continue in the upcoming series. In another interesting statistic, a win for India will help them become the only team to register 21 Test wins against Sri Lanka. The Sensex and the Nifty today witnessed modest losses in afternoon trade. Both stocks slipped even as the global equity indices were up marginally. The BSE Sensex was trading around 55,400 points, while the NSE Nifty was trading below 16,600 level.
Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for today. National capital will have a partly cloudy sky with possibility of very light rain or drizzle. Temperature will vary between 16 and 28 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature was 21 degrees Celsius, while the maximum is expected to be around 32 degrees. Chennai is likely to have generally cloudy sky with light rain. Temperature will vary between 21 and 33 degrees Celsius. Kolkata will have a mainly clear sky. City saw a minimum temperature of 20 degrees Celsius and maximum is expected to be around 30 degrees. Srinagar will have rain or snow. Jammu will have generally cloudy sky with light rain. Gilgit will have partly cloudy sky. Muzaffarabad will have thunderstorm with rain. Vishakhapatnam will have partly cloudy sky with haze. Bengaluru will have mainly clear sky later. Hyderabad will have mainly clear sky later. Puducherry will have generally cloudy sky with moderate rain. And Shillong will have partly cloudy sky. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Polling underway for 6th phase of assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh. Campaigning ends this evening for second and final phase of assembly polls in Manipur. Election Commission orders re-poll in 12 polling booths in Manipur on 5th of March. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to attend Quad leaders' virtual meeting today, along with USA President Joe Biden, Australia Prime Minister Scott Morrison, and Prime Minister of Japan Fumio Kishida. 19 evacuation flights of Indian Air Force and Indian carriers to bring back over 3,000 stranded Indians from Ukraine today. Russia and Ukraine to hold second round of talks in Belarus today. United Nations says 1 million people have left Ukraine after Russia's special military operation. Over 178 crore COVID vaccine doses administered in the country so far. Recovery rate improves to 98.62%. In cricket, first test match between India and Sri Lanka to begin in Mohali tomorrow. and 12th ICC Women's Cricket World Cup to begin in New Zealand from tomorrow. And with that, we end the Midday News.